So, as we wind down 2024, I know many people are getting ready for Christmas, some for Hanukkah, some have already had other holidays, and then some are preparing for some that are happening in January. There's always something going on in the world. And that's what some of us, not me, but some of us, especially in the United States, forget is that there's a whole world out there that does things differently than we do. In fact, all across the United States, people do things differently. I had the opportunity of traveling a lot in my work life and have seen many parts of this country. And believe me, sometimes I was shocked because I thought, wow, are they still back in the 60s, pre-civil rights era? And after the last few months, now I really am not surprised. I feel like we haven't come very far, and then some places have really come a long way. It just proves that the human person, the human experience is a never-ending story. We just keep working on ourselves. Well, some of us keep working on ourselves, and some of us just stay stuck. I think that those of us who've had the opportunity to experience other cultures, both within our country and outside of our country, tend to have a more, worldview sounds obvious, but a much better understanding of our smallness, that we are a point of light in this entire universe. We're not everything. And the way we think is not the way other people think, nor is it like the way they should think. Having said that, the idea that if I disagree with you, then I'm just being cut off. No, I'm not. I mean, I can disagree with somebody on things like where to go for dinner, where to buy my gas, where to buy my groceries. But when it comes to ethical questions, like who my friends are going to be because someone says I shouldn't be friends with somebody because of their race, their religion, their national origin, I could go on and on. Or my kids can't play with your kids because they're the wrong religion, had that happen. My kids can't play with your kids because we're not in the same socioeconomic bracket, and so my kids couldn't go on an excursion because we just didn't have the money to pay for it. We've had those times in our lives. And then we've been the family that's had a lot of money and ended up helping other people pay for things. You know, I think since the pandemic, we've really become self-isolationist. Not only worldwide, but also within our country, even more than we were. And I also believe that the fact that we have things like this, YouTube, we have the internet, we have ways of really seeing what's out there, and not having it be obscured as much by the media, that we see everything. So we see things that used to be hidden. For example, when I was in high school, we didn't really talk about Vietnam. It wasn't in our history books, and that was in the late 70s. So it hadn't hit the Texas published history books. So for any of you educators out there, you know what I mean when I say Texas published. So we didn't really learn about it. Nobody talked about it. I know that some of my teachers were Vietnam War vets, but they didn't talk about it. It wasn't until I was in the early part of my teaching career in the mid-90s, actually early 80s, when it was part of the conversation, but not in middle school, only in high school. And it was very limited. And we called it the Vietnam conflict. We didn't refer to it as a war. So we still were in that mode of hiding our embarrassments, hiding things that we didn't do well. Now, for anybody who is either the family of a Vietnam War veteran or a Vietnam War veteran, please don't take my words as an insult. They are not. I know that people were sent over there against their will. Some went willingly, but a lot against their will through the draft, and did the best they could. I mean, that's what my dad's friends did in World War II. Luckily, he didn't get deployed overseas, but those who did the best they could. whether they agreed with what was going on or not. That's what happens during wartime. You do the best you can. And right now, I feel like we're in kind of a philosophical, ethical war where we have people in our country who are going to listen to one person's rhetoric. And I still don't understand why. But they listen to this person's rhetoric. They listen to the people around this person, and they take it as gospel truth. You can show them data, and they'll tell you, oh, the data is lying. But if they show you data that is clearly incorrect, then it's got to be true. So we live in an information age, and now with AI, how do we know what's real and what's not real? So as we go into these holidays where we're supposed to be having extra gratitude and extra love for each other, boy, there's no more time than this to actually do that. We have to try to forgive those, even if we don't do it in person. We have to forgive those who harmed us. We have to forgive ourselves for allowing ourselves to be harmed, and for the harm we did others. It's something I learned in the 12-step program I was in when I was getting sober, is that you do nothing by holding on to grudges. You do nothing by holding on to guilt and fear. There are some people that I have forgiven, but I haven't said it to their face because it will not be received in the way that is going to be good for either of us. But in my releasing them from whatever harm they may have done to me in the past, I no longer hold on to it. So while we may have people who are choosing to live their life, choosing to follow a man and a politic that is unethical and contrary to anything that speaks of egalitarianism, for the poor, for the weak, for those who are less fortunate than us, that seeks to degrade our educational system in order to control, because that's what it's going to do. We need to let go of those people, because we're not going to be able to fight them with words, because they're locked into the words that they already listened to. What we need to do is keep our hearts open to those who are on the fence, to those who will listen and who will see actual reason. I've seen it happen time and again, where somebody realizes that what happened since 2015, really, 2016, and then of course January 6th, is the worst we've seen of ourselves in a long time. But it's been brewing. And now with AI, you're going to see things that are not real at all. And how are you going to know? And I hear people say, do your own research. No, you're not a researcher. You're not a scientist. Don't use that word. But you need to use your brain, and you need to ask questions. You need to think, well, if I saw that here, where else can I look to see? So when people ask me, Shelley, where do you get your news? Well, I don't really listen to news that much anymore, and I really don't watch that much news anymore unless I'm looking for an answer to, like, what's happening with the budget situation in Congress right now. Yes, I will watch some things. So I go to public broadcasting, which I know some people think is left-leaning, but, they give full disclosure when there is a sponsor who may have contrary views to a story. And they fully disclose. And even if that sponsor might be 100% behind a story, they fully disclose it. So we know where it's coming from. I do watch some of the media on YouTube that has come up over the last few months and this last year. I do watch Midas Touch, although I am very discerning when I listen, because they are very, very, very anti-Agent Orange and pro the other side. And no one is always right. And I'm certainly never going to be pro Agent Orange. So I'll just say that right now. But I do watch the commentators on that station. They have excellent attorneys who do give salient points. They're constitutional lawyers, so I'm going to listen to them. They've had experience in federal government, and they know the score. Legal AF, You know what AF stands for. Bulwark is another one. So I do watch those when I want to find out politically, what's going on. As far as international news, I listen to the BBC, usually late at night on my way home from working at the Mouse House. I listen to the BBC and I get all sorts of information worldwide that is very different from what you hear on our standard media stations. I don't have television. I haven't had television since 2008. So I don't watch mainstream media at all. Certainly don't watch anything on Fox News. And I kind of watch CNN a little bit. I do go to C-SPAN when I want to see what's going on in Congress with live hearings. I've watched all of the January 6 hearings from beginning to end and found it captivating. So if you've not ever done any of that, I encourage you to do so. Usually I can remember where I started in my ramblings and get back to my point, and I frankly can't. But I just really wanted to come back because I know I haven't been as frequent speaking to you as I had planned to. And in 2025, my goal is to just spend a lot more time on here talking about the things that I'm making and the things that I'm learning. We are going on a big trip. My son and I, his birthday is in January, and it wasn't a planned birthday trip, but he'll be turning 32, and he's never traveled to Europe, so we decided on a whim to take a trip to London. He's a huge 20th century historian, having gotten his master's in American Studies and also his bachelor's in both history and American Studies. He's also a Japanese denim enthusiast. So we plan to do a lot of historical sightseeing in London, and maybe even take a trip to Cambridge and Oxford, maybe to Stonehenge. We don't know yet. We're just going to go on the fly. That's the way I like to travel. I had to travel for work for a long time and be on a strict itinerary and didn't really see anything. And now when I travel, I just go and I see what I can see. I ask locals where I should go and how to get there, and I'm fine. So we'll do that. I plan to do a little knitting on the way. I probably will not buy any yarn. But if I happen to be somewhere and they have some Jamesons and Smith, I might get a little bit just to use it in something special. It's been hard to get good wool locally anymore, even online. I can't get good wool at Joann anymore. It's hard to get patents. It's hard to get some of the wool that they were making and selling through Joann. So I bought out all I could and have it stashed away, and that should make several Icelandic sweaters, several Fair Isles or yoked sweaters, some hats. I am going to make some hats. So next year, in the end of summer, I'll have quite a treasure trove of things. I am going to part with this sheep hat that I made. It is really for a larger head or somebody who has a lot of hair. If somebody has a lot of really curly hair, this is a great hat for you. It can slouch. I mean, it can slouch, but it's a great hat, and I love it. It's a cute sheep hat, and I probably will make more. But it really needs to go to a good home. So if you're interested, DM me and we'll work something out. I did post a lot of things on my Go Imagine site. I do have a website, Mishka Larson Creations, but it's been wonky, and so I've kind of set that aside right now. So I am using my goimagine.com/Mishka Larson Creations site for posting any of the things that I have available. The quilts, a couple of sweaters, some scarves, what else do I have? Oh, project bags. I used to brand them as the komibukuru, the rice bags, but they're great project bags. I mean, this is a larger one that I made and I kept because, it's made from a surfing quilt, a Pottery Barn surfing quilt. But the komibukuru are about half this size. Yeah. And they're perfect for holding a couple of skeins and a starter project or a full set of mittens and a hat, something like that. So check it out. I'm currently finishing a cardigan for my son. He saw a cardigan like this online. It's got a fisherman's stitch, a seed stitch across the top, and then it'll have a shawl collar. So I've been sewed that together, and now I just need to work on the collar today and put some pockets on it. He saw that sweater online for $450, and I said, my God, if you spend that money on that, I will never speak to you again. I said, you know, I could make that for less than half. So I've been working on it. It's a great superwash wool that I've been using that, again, is not going to be available through Joann's anymore, so I bought as much as I could and have extra for repairs. I also got some fingering weight pattern sock yarn that's a variegated with this color in it to make him some socks to go with it. Not sure I'm going to have those ready by Christmas, but definitely for our trip. Let me see if I have one of those project bags I can show you. I've got all sorts of things. Excuse me, I'm looking in my box down here. The box that my cats love to sit on. Oh, I can't grab any. They're underneath everything. I've got all this yarn. Wait, let me see. Hold on. I can grab one. Okay, so here's one of the project bags. So it's a komibukuru. So it's like an old-fashioned Japanese rice bag. It's square. It's got a square bottom, okay? And it's fully lined, okay? They're all fully lined. So you could technically reverse them if you wanted to. They all have drawstrings, and the drawstrings are typically recycled. I cut the hems off of tablecloths and napkins, use the napkins and tablecloths for making things, and then I use these for the handles. But it makes a great project bag. I mean, you can, you know, throw some yarn in there, some needles, and you're good to go. Or, you know, I've had people actually take their lunch in it because they're just throw it in the washing machine, fully washable. I also have the hand-dyed, you know, some cakes of the hand-dyed yarn I did. This is superwash merino as well. One of these cakes would easily make a scarf, a hat, maybe a pair of small mittens. Yeah, so all that is on the Go Imagine site. I look forward to talking to you again. It's Friday. Do something fun this weekend. I'll be at the Mouse House on Saturday night at the Falcon. If you happen to be in Disneyland, come say hello. Although it's kind of hard to say hello to us because we move all around and people will look for us and never find us. But we're there to have fun, and I do enjoy what I do for work. And I'm very fortunate to be able to do that part-time. And I just, you know, cross my fingers and nothing funky happens to my Social Security because, and that's a whole nother conversation, right? I'm telling you, we're in a state of mind, not in a state, I mean, I'm lucky to be in California right now. Thank goodness. I'm really lucky. Even under a Republican governor, I would be lucky. But we are in a place right now where it's very, very obvious that those in power are trying to, or those who seek power, are trying to make the haves and have-not disparity just that much farther. So that if you don't have it, we're going to keep you uneducated, we're going to keep you poor, we're going to keep you beholden to the man, as it were. And man, it's just, my mom used to talk about this kind of stuff, and we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be in this place right now. It shouldn't be happening, but it is. So instead of being sad, instead of being in despair, instead of being depressed about it, do something about it. So make the people around you happy by, you know, reading to the kids, making sure they get their education, and supplemented by that 6 hours at school, right? You are their primary educator. Work with the school. And your community is also their teacher. So make sure that when they are in the community, they're getting a positive and proper education, okay? That's what you can do right now. And if you don't have kids, then take care of your community, all right? Whether it's work or the people that live in your neighborhood. All right, signing off. You guys have a great weekend, and hope you enjoy next week if I don't talk to you before then.